A very good morning to all News9 viewers. I'm Neha Bhan. Let's take a look at some of the stories making headlines this hour. We begin with the special investigation team probing the Hassan sex scandal arrested Hole Narasipura JDS MLA HD Revanna in connection with a kidnapping case registered against him at Nagar police station in Mysuru. He was arrested yesterday soon after a Bengaluru court rejected his anticipatory bail petition. Meanwhile, the Central Bureau of Investigation is likely to issue a blue corner notice against Janata Dal secular MP Prajwal Revanna, who is believed to be in Germany on a diplomatic password after allegations of sexual abuse came to light. A blue notice is issued by the International Police Cooperation Body to collect additional information from its member countries about a person's identity, location or activities in relation to a crime. The SIT is said to have sent a request to CBI, the nodal body for Interpol matters in India, seeking a blue notice against Prajwal, the officials said, adding that once CBI issues this notice, SIT hopes to get information about the whereabouts of the Hassan MP. This has come to light after Chief Minister Siddaramaiah held an emergency meeting with top cops and the special investigation team probing the case. HD Revanna, Prajwal's father there, had also filed a petition seeking anticipatory bail in the FIR involving non-bailable charges under IPC sections 364A, which surmounts to abduction, and 365, surmounting to illegal confinement. These are the latest reactions from the stakeholders in the matter. Let's listen in.
ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳದೆ ನಾವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟರ್ಫಿಯರ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂತ ಕಾನೂನು ರೀತಿಯ ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೋಬೇಕು. ಅವರು ಆಂಟಿಸಿಪೇಟರಿ ಬೇಲ್ ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಂತೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಕಿಡ್ನಾಪ್ ಕೇಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಂಟಿಸಿಪೇಟರಿ ಬೇಲ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಲಿಲ್ಲ, ವಜಾ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು ಅವ್ರ ಆಂಟಿಸಿಪೇಟರಿ ಬೇಲ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕಸ್ಟಡಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿ.
एक्शन लेना चाहिए, वो एक्शन गवर्नमेंट SIT ले रही. SIT तो इंडिपेंडेंट, उन्होंने एक कमेटी की है. वो कमेटी जो काम कर रही है कानून के तहत कर रही है, और जो भी आदमी गलती करता है उसको शिक्षा जरूर होना चाहिए. और अगर कानून का भय किसी को नहीं है तो बहुत कानून के तहत देश अगर चलेगा नहीं तो सबको मुश्किल होता है.
I am not aware of it. I am not aware of it. The law will take its own course.
Moving on now, on Sunday morning, security personnel carried out a search operation following a terrorist attack on an Indian Air Force convoy on Saturday, in which one personnel was killed. ANI citing officials mentioned that a search operation was conducted to track the terrorists. Security forces have laid down nakas and checking is going on in the area. At least one soldier was killed while 5 others suffered injuries when a vehicle convoy of the Indian Air Force came under heavy firing from the terrorists in the Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir. The security forces have cordoned off the area and have launched a manhunt to nab the terrorists. The Indian Air Force, in fact, took to Twitter and wrote, in the ensuing gunfight with terrorists, the air warriors fought back by returning fire. In the process, 5 IAF personnel received bullet injuries and were evacuated to the nearest military hospital for immediate medical attention. One air warrior succumbed to his injuries later. Further operations are on by the local security forces. Search and combing operations are currently ongoing. Security forces have tightened the vigil This was the terrorist attack, viewers, that took place on an IF convoy in Poonch, in which 1 soldier was killed and 5 were injured in the terror attack. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Ramnagar, Ayodhya. His schedule includes a visit to the revered Ramlalla temple, followed by a grand roadshow. The Prime Minister is expected to spend a total of 2 hours in the city, starting with a 15-minute darshan at Ramlalla's court. After paying his respect, the roadshow will kick off from Sugriva Fort near Ram Janmabhoomi Path, covering a 2-kilometer stretch to Lata Mangeshkar Chowk. Security measures are in place along the Sultanpur, Ayodhya and Lucknow Gorakhpur highways in anticipation of the Prime Minister's arrival. Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to arrive at Ayodhya Airport at 6:40 p.m. via helicopter, where he will then proceed to Ram Janmabhoomi. Following the roadshow, he will depart for Bhubaneswar, Odisha at 8:40 p.m. In efforts to bolster support for Lok Sabha candidates, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will accompany the Prime Minister in public arrangements. These there include public meetings in Etawah and Sitapur. Reacting to Canadian police arresting 3 Indian men in connection with Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar last year, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said what is happening in election-bound Canada is mostly due to the country's internal politics and has nothing to do with India. S. Jaishankar argued that Canada accuses India of wrongdoing without providing evidence to support its claims. He said, and I quote, "There are 25 examples I have with me who are either known pro-Khalistani individuals or part of gangs involved in crimes. We have given them extradition requests. They did nothing. There is a gang war going on there. They shift blame to India every time, but investigative agencies there never give any proof. What I feel that it is a political game." An experimental F16 fighter jet controlled by artificial intelligence took U.S. Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall on a historic flight at Edwards Air Force Base in California. The move can be considered one of the biggest advances in military aviation since the introduction of stealth in the early 1990s. The AI-controlled F-16 called Vista flew the USAF Secretary in lightning-fast maneuvers at more than 550 miles an hour that put pressure on his body at 5 times the force of gravity. It went nearly nose-to-nose with a second human-piloted F-16 as both aircraft raced within 1,000 feet of each other, twisting and looping to try to force their opponent into vulnerable positions. The U.S. Air Force is considering an AI-enabled fleet of more than 1,000 unmanned warplanes to be operating by 2028. India's independence hero Mahatma Gandhi's younger years are being brought to life in a new television series currently filming in the United Kingdom. More in this report.
The years of Mahatma Gandhi when he was a shy young man are being brought back to life in a historic London pub and other British venues for a new television series. Producers of the 3-season show were inspired by the extended format of Netflix's hit show The Crown.
Cut.
Samir Nair is the managing director of Indian production company Applause Entertainment.
The opportunity to tell a series much in the vein of The Crown, or that kind of storytelling, long form, 1 hour episodes, 8 episodes, allows you to tell that much more story about all the characters, all the people.
The first season is being filmed in Mumbai and Gujarat, as well as Britain. 44-year-old actor Patrick Gandhi takes on the title role. No relation of Mahatma, he has already played his namesake on stage before.
I had been playing Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi on stage from last 8 years.
So unknowingly, somewhere I was prepping for this day. It's going great so far. We are almost halfway through, and I find myself fortunate to be playing Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi on a long format like this.
Director Hansel Mehta says the series seeks to engage younger audiences.
I think good stories are meant for the world, and there's been no more important time than today. Today's conflicted, polarized times, to tell a story of this kind of significance.
We're sleeping a quick break now. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay with us.
Luxury is now becoming a need rather than something that you aspire to be. So that is adding a lot of fuel. Obviously, government has played a vital role in it.
In a city like Mumbai, a luxury home may be something upwards of rupees 10 crores. In city like Delhi, again, maybe something upwards of 8-9 crores. But in Bangalore, we typically define a luxury home, anything which is upwards of about 3 crores.
It's a combination of increased wealth, availability of more luxurious homes, and simultaneously the overall economy doing better.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. The latest in Russia-Ukraine war escalations. Russian forces launched attacks on Ukraine's Kharkiv, Dnipro regions and the port city of Odessa. At least 2 civilians have been killed in the assault, with a food factory set ablaze and other infrastructure, homes and buildings damaged on the 4th of May. In Kharkiv, a Russian missile attack injured 6 employees and caused business premises to catch fire. President Zelensky revealed that Russia deployed 8 missiles and nearly 70 guided aerial bombs on communities and frontline positions. Ukraine's Air Force also downed 13 Shahed drones targeting Kharkiv and Dnipro overnight. Additionally, Ukraine's 110th Mechanized Brigade successfully brought down a Russian Su-25 fighter bomber over the Donetsk region, one of the areas Moscow claims to have annexed. Ukraine presented an AI-generated spokesperson called Victoria, who will make official statements on behalf of its foreign ministry. The ministry said it would, for the first time in history, use a digital spokesperson to read its statements, which will still be written by humans, dressed in a dark suit. The spokesperson introduced herself as Victoria She, a digital person, in a presentation posted on social media. The figure gesticulates with her hands and moves her head as she speaks. The Foreign Ministry's press service said that the statements given by She would not be generated by AI, but quote-unquote written and verified by real people. They said, and I quote, "It's only the visual part that the AI helps us to generate." This is what the Ukrainian Foreign Minister said, adding that the new spokesperson was a technological leap that no diplomatic service in the world has yet made. Chadians vote on Monday in an election designed to end military rule in a region where Western powers and Russia are vying for influence. So why are all global powers eyeing Chad's elections? Let's take a look at this report to find out.
On Monday, Chad will become the first in a string of coup-hit states in Central and West Africa to use the ballot box to try to emerge from military rule. So what's at stake? This is an election that Chad's Western allies will be watching closely, in a region hit by militant violence and where Russia is pushing for influence.
Chad est à la croisée des chemins. Chad is at a crossroads. Two superpowers are making the Chadian people dance in two volcanoes.
Vincent Payang is a teacher in the capital N'Djamena.
We know that in our prayers it is only God who changes times and circumstances.
This election comes amid a battle between the West and Russia for influence in the region. Following coups in Chad's neighbour Niger, as well as Burkina Faso and Mali, the new juntas told traditional allies such as France and other Western powers to leave, and instead turned towards Moscow. Chad is now the last Sahel country with a substantial French military presence. Underscoring Chad's position, Mahamat Idriss Déby, who adopted the title of interim president after seizing power, met with French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris last year and in January with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Analysts say regional and Western powers will be pushing for stability and to shore up their positions in the country. But Ulf Lessing, head of the Sahel program at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, said Chad is an extremely complicated and very fragile place.
Always, Western powers, wanted a strongman basically to keep the country somewhat under control. That makes certainly sense. We don't want instability in another country, but also many normal Chadians or activists say they're kind of tired being the victims of this Western-driven stabilization game. They also want more freedom and more development, which they haven't seen.
Déby, who came to power following the battlefield death of his long-ruling father Idriss Déby, is widely expected to win. Opposition groups are already crying foul. That's against a backdrop of increasing concerns over human rights in what is one of the poorest countries in the world. Déby initially promised an 18-month transition, but his government later adopted resolutions to postpone elections and allow him to run for the presidency. Subsequent protests were violently quelled by security forces. Around 50 civilians were killed. And another death, opposition figure Yaya Dillo. He was shot and killed in N'Djamena on February the 28th, the day the election date was announced. The opposition has called Dillo's death an assassination, and forensic experts have said he was likely shot at point-blank range. Chadian authorities said he was killed during an exchange of fire with security forces who had been sent to detain him for alleged involvement in clashes. Some opposition parties and civil society groups have called for a boycott of the vote. They say Déby and his allies control the main institutions of power and could influence the process. Others say a boycott would amount to surrender. For Gali Dubai, an unemployed man in N'Djamena, what Chad needs is peace. And for him, that means change. We've suffered in this country, he says. Chadian youth are suffering. I swear to God, this election has to be transparent.
We're slipping a quick break now. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay with us.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT,
News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. Latest from Trump's hush money trial. Hope Hicks, a former top aide to Donald Trump, testified saying that Trump told her in the final days of the 2016 presidential election to deny that he had a sexual relationship with porn star Stormy Daniels. Take a listen.
The government, DOJ, etc., and in particular lately this office of DA, which is letting crime, violent crime, run rampant all over our city. What they've done to people in my company, they've been after us for years. You take a look at what's happened for years. The Democrats, the radical left, they've been after us for years, and they've destroyed people's lives. They've gone out, hired lawyers, they've been with lawyers for years, been sucked dry. And it's a shame. It's a shame what they've done to this country. And it's a shame what they've done to a lot of great people that have been absolutely ruined and destroyed, not only here, all over. These are vicious, vicious, radical left lunatics. The DA here is Soros backed. They shouldn't be wasting time on this. Look what they do to so many people. They're all lawyered up. That's all they do, lawyer up. In the meantime, you can't do anything in the country. The country's going to hell.
Donald Trump is the first US president to be criminally charged. From fraud to hush money, what are the biggest charges against him? Can they stop Trump from contesting for US presidential elections? News9 Plus decodes it all for you.
Donald Trump is the first American president, current or former, to be criminally charged. So, all eyes on the American Supreme Court. So the question is, what are the biggest charges against Trump and how will they affect his bid for the White House? News9 Plus decodes. Prosecutors say Trump tried to influence the 2016 presidential elections. They say hush money payments were made to adult film star Stormy Daniels, which were part of the attempts to hide damaging information about Trump. He has also been accused of falsifying business records. A catch and kill scheme dominated the trial. Prosecutors say that this scheme controlled the public narrative about him ahead of the 2016 polls. This scheme had 3 steps. The first, flattering stories about Trump would be published. Then publish hit stories on his opponents as well. And finally, kill negative stories on Trump. Another important part of the trial would be a hearing on allegations that Trump violated a judge's gag order barring discussion of witnesses. Prosecutors want Trump to be fined $1,000 for each time he violated the gag order and also be reminded that he could go to jail if he keeps at it. So, can the trial stop Trump from contesting the presidential polls? Well, no. In fact, he can run for president even if he is convicted. The American Constitution allows it. However, a guilty verdict can affect his ability to campaign and of course raise unprecedented scenarios. Well, can his candidacy be barred under the 14th Amendment? The disqualification clause is something that the US Supreme Court is debating out here. So, how many other cases does Trump face? Well, in all, Trump faces 91 counts, and any of these could potentially produce a prison sentence. He has already lost a civil suit in New York that stands to threaten his business empire, as well as a couple of defamation judgments. Well, have people with criminal convictions run for president before? Well, in 1920, Eugene V. Debs, a Socialist Party candidate, campaigned for presidency from a federal prison. He was jailed for sedition. He got nearly 1 million votes. In 1992, Lyndon LaRoche Jr. also ran for president from a federal prison. He was imprisoned for a conspiracy and mail fraud. Trump is pinning his hopes on the 1982 Supreme Court decision, which was the Nixon versus Fitzgerald. The court had said presidents are immune both while in office and after from civil damages for official acts, including those on the outer perimeter of a president's official responsibilities. The US Supreme Court, however, seems to be staring at a whole new beast right now. Trump is arguing that as former president, he enjoys absolute immunity from criminal prosecution for any official acts during his tenure. So, will Donald Trump get away?
With the conflict between Israel and Hamas now in its 7th month, domestic waste has been piling up. Some municipalities have been left with little choice but to find new dumping grounds. The health of children as domestic waste piles up is a major concern.
Abu Mohammed walks past a makeshift landfill, less than 500 feet from his home in central Gaza. With the conflict between Israel and Hamas now in its 7th month, domestic waste has been piling up. Some municipalities have been left with little choice but to find new dumping grounds, like this. Mohammed says the dump's proximity to his home has him worrying about the health of his family.
This street was completely empty. We did not suffer like this before. The municipality used to be active, but after the war and the aggression that occurred, it ceased its operations. This waste here has brought diseases. Our children are suffering from various ailments that we have never seen before, such as skin pimples and rashes. Personally, I returned from the clinic just an hour ago. There were numerous cases, including my child, who had a fever. The doctor said that it was the result of the pollution here.
Yusuf Hamad is a municipality worker. The area is not a designated dumping zone, he says, but there was little choice after road blockages stopped them from reaching the official landfill. Hamad also warned of the environmental hazard it poses. It could attract insects and stray animals, he says, and could potentially contaminate the groundwater. Aid agencies warned in February that the majority of people had no access to clean drinking water, and that sanitation services were wholly ineffective, with none of Gaza's wastewater treatment systems working.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay with us.
There's a new video around what deepfake can do.
We had seen a trailer of this a few days back.